dark money and their dark message of division. But again, we have the excellence of an extraordinary generation of dynamic candidates. Let's hear it for our candidates across the country. The energy of the grassroots. Let's hear it for the grassroots. And under the leadership of Ben Ray Lujan, the determination to win.
Okay.
Across the country, our volunteers in politics, our VIPs, must continue to get out the vote. Get out the vote. Keep it going. Walk those precincts. Knock those doors. Make those calls. Text those messages.
All right, it's finally working.
So I ask all of you here, are you ready to take back the House for working men and women? Are you ready to help more Democratic candidates win? Are you ready for a great Democratic victory? I thought so. Onward to victory. God bless you, and God bless America. Thank you all very much.
And we've just learned that the Associated Press has, in fact, called the House of Representatives for the Democrats tonight. And we've just learned that the United States Senate will remain in control of the Republicans with the defeat of Heidi Heitkamp in North Dakota. Congressman Kramer was successful in his bid to oust the sitting senator, and he's announced that on Twitter. Here's what he had to say. Thank you, North Dakota, representing you in the United States Senate will be the honor of a lifetime. That's his tweet announcing his victory in that race there. Let's return to Steve Scully with more results.
And Susan, let's look at some of the Senate races.
Trying to figure out how I can get the link so I can.
Declared Mike DeWine the winner in the Ohio governor's race, and that would be significant because Richard Cordray was ahead in some of the polls, and of course redistricting will be key in 2020 in the Buckeye State. But let's focus on some of the Senate races and some Republican pickups, but one Democratic hold in Montana, where at the moment Senator Jon Tester is holding on to a rather sizable lead in that small state over Matt Rosendale, the Republican candidate, 13% of the vote in that state. In Missouri, these numbers have been going back and forth during the course of the evening, but right now Josh Hawley is moving ahead with about half of the vote now in. He is the state attorney general. Incumbent Senator Claire McCaskill trying to seek a third term. She was reelected 6 years ago. Todd Akin, who was her Republican challenger 6 years ago and defeating the Republican challenger back then. But right now, Josh Hawley is ahead. You mentioned North Dakota, Susan, and this is a Republican pickup where Congressman Kevin Kramer had been leading in most of the polling and defeating Senator Heidi Heitkamp, the Democratic incumbent. And then finally in Arizona, the Senate race, some early numbers out in that state. Martha McSally, the Republican representative, with a very narrow lead, only a small portion of the vote in Arizona over Kyrsten Sinema, the Democratic candidate. We'll have some House results in just a couple of minutes.
Thanks very much, Steve. And next up is John, who is
CNN.
in San Antonio, Texas, Republican.
As we move across, more than within their reach, to Harry Enton's point, projected now to get leading in 17 now as you go up. Projected to get there. The question is, how high can you go? First, let's see if they get to 23.
How high
but
can
if so,
you get?
Which appears within reach soon, then that becomes a fascinating conversation because can Nancy Pelosi navigate staying on in power when so many of the Democrats running have said, that's not what I want? The margin will matter in that conversation as we count them up.
Yeah, very, very impressive run so far for the Democrats in the House of Representatives. We've got a key race alert on the gubernatorial contest. Nia, what do you see?
That's right. Well, we want to look at some of these races in the Midwest. Let's start in Iowa. Fred Hubbell here in Iowa over the incumbent, Kim Reynolds, who's the incumbent governor there. You see about 44% reporting at this point. This is a state, obviously, that Donald Trump won, and the Democrat at this point, who's a businessman, is out to a pretty good lead. We'll keep an eye on that. In Wisconsin, Tony Evers at this point, 4,000 votes spread at this point over the incumbent here, Scott Walker. Closely watched race, 64% reporting. Right now, a very, very slim lead for the Democrats. Democrat. In Michigan, Gretchen Whitmer here, out to a pretty good lead here, about 300,000 votes at this point over the Republican Bill Schuette, about 61% reporting right now in that state, a possible flip for Democrats. In Ohio, Mike DeWine, a strong lead here, 240,000 votes ahead of the Democrat here, Richard Cordray, 91% reporting right now. Back to Wolf, Jake, and Dana.
Thanks very much, Nia. This is a night that a lot of people are going to remember, especially the President of the United States. He's been watching TV, we're told, basically all day, getting results in. He's obviously very happy what's happening in the Senate, not so happy what's happening in the House.
Fox News.
Yeah, and the truth of the matter is that the House is...
Let's try Fox
before
News.
Anybody has made a call, but the way that one party official described it to me, a Republican Party official, they think that it is possible that Democrats could make up the ground, but they think that it is improbable. So they're basically sitting back there just trying to figure out when they could potentially come out to speak to supporters when there's a call. Brett?
Peter Doocy in Naples, thank you. We've got a call to make in a governor's race that's important, and that is in Ohio. Fox News can now project that Mike DeWine will win in Ohio. The Republican holding off a challenge from the Democrat, Richard Cordray. Cordray,
to me, it always looks like he's trying to look like Superman or something.
The Consumer
Not
Protection
them,
Division
the guy that's
Obama.
talking.
Now, DeWine, who has served as Ohio's Attorney General since 2010, he was a U.S. Senator before losing to Sherrod Brown. But a big win in Ohio governor's race. This is to fill John Kasich's seat, and it also means a lot in 2020. Think about this. If a Republican controls Ohio and a Republican controls potentially Florida, that means a lot for a prospective candidate
Superman
and President Donald Trump for re-election.
Just open your shirt and there's a big S there.
Extremely big wins for the president tonight as he looks forward to 2020. All of the issues of redistricting that could take place if a Democrat had won.
It's not a valid criticism.
Ohio would have had large ramifications, and as Peter says, we're still waiting for Florida, but it is looking like it's leaning in the Republican direction tonight. So, you know, in the end, you know, I mean, obviously, we're far from the end at this point, but when President Trump sort of adds up things tonight, those are going to be two really important issues for him, perhaps even
big of a deal this is. And as we see the balance in the House kind of slow down and the question as to who's going to take hold is still unknown at this point, it really could come down to this room and to the room that Brandy's in here in Washington State. It could come down to that 8th congressional district to see if the Democrats do remain victorious in that district, the first Democrat ever to be elected in the 8th congressional district. If that were to happen, I mean, that would just provide huge momentum for this room. We are eagerly awaiting those results to drop, the ballot drop happening shortly after 8 o'clock, and we'll be sure to be hearing a lot of more reaction coming from this room and from those candidates. For now, guys, back to you.
All right, Simone, and we're joined by our political analyst, C.R. Douglas. I want to talk more about the 8th Congressional District. We heard from Dave Reichert just a few moments ago. I mean, this has been a district that has been held by Republicans since the 80s when it was formed, but I was reading that this district also votes for Democrats when it comes to presidential elections. So it has shown that it can go in either direction. What are you seeing tonight in early polls?
And that is why it is in that toss-up category. I mean, one reason is that it's an open seat. I think if Dave Reichert was still in this race, we wouldn't have nearly the Democratic energy that you see in an open race. But yes.
There's something I just want to mention while this is, while it's fresh is, yes, Propter Hawk said it's about what's projected, no real surprises thus far. And I'm saying, yeah, we're saying, yeah, it's looking that way. Dems will take the House, reps. Let's start over again. He said, looks like Dems will take the House and the reps will take the Senate. And I said, yes, it's looking that way. And he goes, yeah, about what's projected. And it does look that way. I'm high on weed and am drinking, so I'm a little weird today.
Top of many people's agenda. And you actually see that in a lot of Democratic races around the country. They're actually sort of leaving Trump alone and focusing on health care and focusing on pre-existing conditions and prescription drug prices, all the rest, things that they think they can win on. and that leave Trump alone, let him sort of do his own damage, if you will.
And he's made the economy the focus. The economy's doing well. She's going to raise taxes, calling her Dr. Tax. And it's gotten pretty ugly in the last couple of weeks or so.
It has. And part of why it gets really ugly in these really toss-up big spending races is that outside money comes in. And when you look at the $25 million that's been spent on this, over half of that is from outside folks. Outside interest groups. It's not from the campaigns. And those outside groups almost always do the most negative, most controversial ads. So that's what's going on here, is that a lot of these ads are from outside people.
Yeah. Well, the polls close in less than 3 minutes, and we'll see how it all comes out. We're going to start to get numbers about 8:10 or 8:15 tonight, but that's going to do it for us here on Q13. We are going to switch over to our other stations, Joe TV, and have 2 hours of coverage there before being back here on Q13 again.
Yeah, so if you want your fill of election coverage for this 2018 midterm, keep it.
CBS. Forgot to unmute my mic. Big smiles. Everyone smile. Come on, keep backing up more until you go through the wall, okay? NBC.
All along the campaign trail, power sees nothing without a demand.
All along the watchtower.
We still have to be willing to show up every single day and demand our seat at the table. We got to be willing, inside of elections and outside of elections, to say that our voices still matter, that we still have relevance. I still believe and I still trust the voters. We may not have all shown up in the way that we thought and hoped that we would, but I still believe that there are still more of us who believe in what is common and what is decent and what is right. And I believe in the long run, good always wins out over evil. I still believe that. Many of you all along the trail heard me talk rather repeatedly about my grandmother. Someone pointed out that she was the real winner of the governor's race.
Andrew Gillum, the Democratic candidate for governor in Florida, conceding. We have it as too close to call, but clearly they see otherwise. Ron DeSantis apparently will go on to be governor in Florida.
We will continue our coverage, top of the hour.
ABC.
Collect and win big this November
C-SPAN.
at Tulalip. We are giving away over...
We're giving away C-SPAN.
Ritual. It was a two-step ritual. The first phase of that is that she'd grab her bottle of olive oil, sometimes cooking oil, whatever the shiniest oil was that she can get her hands on. And she would build a cross across my forehead. It was her way of sending us out into the day with a blessing that no harm would come our way. And then she would have this refrain where she would say, boy, go to school. Mind your teachers, get your lesson, and one day bring that education home. She would say, bring it home for your little brother and your little sister who don't know what it is yet. Bring it home. Bring it home for that little boy down the street that you play with. God knows where he's going to end up. Bring it home. She said, bring it home for your mama and for your daddy who get out there every single day, going to work on somebody else's job in order to keep a roof over your head and clothes on your back.
So change it home into it on.
As I shared with you on the campaign.
Oh, I thought it was going to keep going, bring it home. I thought it was going to continue, like having that as the first.
What she was saying,
yeah,
is that it wasn't just about me. Y'all, I'm reminded this evening that it is not about me. That it's not about my wife, not Chris King, not Kristen. This is about all of us. This is about the collective. This is about the belief that if we all do good,
if we all join the Borg,
good. And we can do good by doing good. That if we all put our oars in the water,
because if we do good, it will do good to do good to do good to do good.
I still believe that to be true this evening. Even in defeat, I believe that to be true. The question is, we have a choice to make tomorrow morning. Are we going to wake up and bask in sorrow and defeat? Or are we going to get up and reassert ourselves to the mission at hand? Are we going to get up and fight for the things that we believe in? Are we going to get up and say that we still deserve our seat at the table? Look, I said before that I believe that we have to have a table in this state that is long enough, that is wide enough, that is deep enough to fit all of us. I still believe that we got to have that table.
That's what she said.
But y'all, we're just going to have to do a little bit more work in order to build that table. We're going to have to do a little bit more in order to make our way to it. If there's not a chair there for us, let's pull up our own folding chair. Let's make sure that people know we plan to have a seat at this thing and that we will not be ignored, that we will not be pushed aside, that we will not be pushed into the shadows anymore, that we're here and that we are here to stay. Y'all, I have to tell you, I am blown away.
I am ready to check another
by
channel.
The volunteers
see what they're
that
covering.
joined with us on the trail.
CNN.
I'm blown away by you.
Him and Cummings say they plan to hold the Trump administration accountable, which they believe the Republicans did not do, which is why you'll see a very aggressive push by these committees to do what the Republicans did not do when they had power here. We'll see this all
must
play
be
out
very loud
in
in
the coming
there.
weeks here, Jake and Wolf.
All right, Rhonda Raju at Democratic headquarters, apparently watching CNN on delay or something like that.
I think that Nancy Pelosi
MSNBC.
fairly soon. We'll monitor that as well. Anderson.
Coming online for us. Steve Kornacki, we have not record kept as we look at Republican control of the Senate. We have not record kept on a couple of House races, and a couple of big names have fallen here in the last hour.
Yeah, let's go through what we've seen recently. Let's start in Virginia's 7th district. We were talking about this all night. Abigail Spanberger, the Democrat, we are now declaring the winner over Dave Bratt, the Republican incumbent. Richmond suburbs here. The bookends here. It was Bratt 2014 knocked off Eric Cantor, one of the big political upsets of the modern era. 4 years later, he is losing his seat in Virginia suburbs. That's a Democratic pickup. The 22nd district of New York. Claudia Tenney, very conservative Republican incumbent. She is going to lose to Anthony Brindisi. How about the 19th district, the Hudson Valley? Wow. John Faso, Republican incumbent, losing to Antonio Delgado. Of course, the ads Republicans ran against Delgado in this campaign became a source of controversy. Delgado is going to win there. The 6th district of Illinois outside Chicago. Peter Roskam, Republican incumbent, Clinton district. We've been seeing this combination a lot tonight. He is going to be defeated.
I'm still having some streaming issues. I may have to change some settings and try to start the stream quickly enough that it doesn't. Anyway, because I am watching it stutter. Well, it's not too bad. I guess I'll leave it for a little longer, but I don't like the stuttering.
Victory, according to the Philadelphia Inquirer here. But Seth Grossman, this is an interesting story that is this close. Seth Grossman was disowned by the National Republican Party and denounced by the chairman of the New Jersey State Republican Party for racist and bigoted comments. The words there of the New Jersey Republican chairman. The fact that it's sitting at 50 to 48, and we haven't officially called it at this point at this hour, is somewhat noteworthy. But if Van Drew does hang on in our projection, then that would be a Democratic pickup there as well. Also, just coming across the wire, the 7th district of Texas. This is Harris County, Houston, suburban. This another one of those I can show you on the
something that I find interesting is how, CNN frames everything as if it should be for the Democrats. Everything should, that's the way. If everything was right and just, the Democrats would be the ones. That's the perspective that they're always coming from. And then they say that they're not biased, So it's kind of funny. Just everything about the way they come from it. Now, I don't have a problem with that as long as they're being honest about it. But they try to set themselves as being non-biased. And it's just like, no, CNN is pretty biased. Just like Fox News is biased the other way.
open seat, Republican, a former hockey player there, Pete Stauber, wins it. So put this together, you got those 2 Republican gains so far in Democratic territory. Then you have 18, 21, 22, so a net Democratic gain at this hour of 20 seats. Of course, 23 officially gives them control. There's a whole bunch more where they seem to be on the verge of victory. So they're very close to crossing that line of 23. And then the question just becomes, how high are we counting in terms of majority?
Steve, can I just ask you an Iowa question? I see you've got another couple of Iowa districts up there that you don't yet have calls in. How is Steve King doing? I'm just wondering if he's going to be in a caucus with Mr. Grossman, if Mr. Grossman gets that race.
Yeah, there you go. About 135,000 votes in here, about a third of the district. Let's see where this is coming in from. It is sort of scattered. I mean, this is a Trump plus 27 district here. So Steve King, this is the most conservative part of Iowa, sort of northwest Iowa right there. Steve King leading by 5,000 votes, about a third of the vote in right there. And also one more while we're on Iowa, we can just check in on David. And look at this now, with almost 2/3 of the vote in. David Young, Republican incumbent here, trailing by 8 points, a 20,000 vote gap. So I'll tell you, there is a scenario right here. 4 districts in Iowa. You got the Democrat surviving in the other one. Rod Blum goes down in 1. If David Young goes down in 3, and if Steve King after this survives in 4, after the chairman of the Republican Congressional Campaign Committee denounced him, he could be, if he survives, the only Republican coming back to Congress from Iowa, which might enhance his stature in a backward way.
And right now, the Iowa governor's race is too close to call at this point in terms of whether or not, in terms of statewide elected Iowa politicians as well. Do you have that? Yeah.
And you can put that right up on the screen. Kim Reynolds.
Too early to call, forgive me.
Kim Reynolds, of course, and she's the interim governor.
Backwardly
by about
enhanced.
25,000 votes right now in that governor's race.
Iowa, Kansas, these states are turning out to be absolutely fascinating tonight in terms of Democratic prospects. I do want to give us one additional call. I've been focusing on governor's races tonight, keeping an eye on those, and we do have a call in Oregon. Now, we think of Oregon as a deep blue state, but there was question as to whether or not the Oregon incumbent governor, Kate Brown, would be able to win. That's not Kate Brown. That is a projection. NBC News projecting that in California, the governor will be Democrat Gavin Newsom. And thank you, Oregon governor, projected winner Kate Brown, the Democrat, who is the incumbent governor, facing actually a tough race.
When's that commercial coming? Come on, here we come.
Who is the Republican there? Oregon has quirky politics right now and has been through some gubernatorial scandals with the antecedent governor to Kate Brown, but she will be winning tonight. And Gavin Newsom will now become a figure of national renown as the head of the Republic of California.
Our family has changed yet again here in the studio. Nicole Wallace, Donna Edwards, Steve
they
Schmidt
didn't have a commercial. Amazing.
Nicole, your summation of what we've just witnessed thus far?
You know, I think it's Democrats went into this night with such high expectations for themselves. Republicans, you know, dare I say, are mostly numb inside. I mean, the Trump presidency, if you still have a conscience, it's been knocked silly. And if you're all in with Trump, then you know, this is probably better than what you were prepared for. I think Republicans focused on real emotional letdowns in Beto not getting across the finish line, feeling you know, distraught about the results at this point in Florida and Georgia. But I think the bigger story,
yes, Propter Hawk mentioned that it's hilarious how much money they spend for this. I can literally refresh my browser and get the same results, and I'm going sometimes better results. Yes, absolutely.
And the first time that Donald Trump as president will be accountable to anybody.
He'll have a check on his power for the first time.
I mean, that is a huge story and a bigger deal. And if you think that Donald Trump is what's broken, winning those state houses, winning some of those governor's races wasn't going to fix it. But taking control of the House might.
Donna Edwards, same question.
Yeah, I mean, I think that for Democrats, we tried to actually temper our expectations because of 2016. Mm-hmm. I think tonight is proving to be a really good night. And, you know, when I look at the potential governing majority, I see a majority that's actually going to be able to get some things done. And yes, a check on Donald Trump. A part of that check is doing things that the president just avoids. And so, you know, I look at tonight and just say, you see a place like in Houston with Culbertson losing. Yeah. I mean, tonight, Republicans already have lost 3 chairmen. not just, you know, the rank and file members. They have lost 3 chairmen in Culbertson and Pete Sessions and Peter Roskam. That's part of their leadership core, and that's very damaging to them inside their caucus.
Steve Schmidt, does anyone grow courage within the Republican Party because the returning Congress will see a shift of power against this president?
Absolutely not. The Republican Party won't be chastened. It'll be emboldened. The Republicans that have lost, the lesson that will be taken from this election is they lost because they didn't embrace Trumpism fully. That
Growing
had they
Courage,
engaged in the
a new
incitement
porn
tactics
film by
that will have worked in states like Ohio,
L. Ron Hubbard,
where Mike DeWine was elected governor, in Florida, where Gillum went down, to DeSantis. That's the lesson. That's the takeaway from Republicans. But we shouldn't bury the lead here. And the lead is this. We know something right now that we didn't know this morning. And that is, come January, there's a check on Donald Trump. Democrats hold the subpoena power. The unchecked corruption is at its end. All of the Trump officials who have abused the taxpayer, who have serially lied to the country, they now will be held to account. I disagree with Donna that very much is going to get done. I think nothing will get done. Our politics is broken. It's paralyzed. There will be chaos. It will get worse. But Donald Trump will be much less able to abuse his power than he was for the last 2 years. That's the headline out of tonight. The other thing that comes out of tonight is this.
Fox
Donald
News.
Trump has stoked what I've called a cold...
Committee chairs, you've been through the names already. Can you imagine what will happen if Jerry Nadler starts an investigation to impeach Justice Kavanaugh, as he said he was going to start, as well as the president?
You know, the other issue here is campaigning. You had former President Obama campaigning for Joe Donnelly, Richard Cordray, Andrew Gillum, and Stacey Abrams. We don't know what's going to happen in that Georgia governor's race, Carl, but the ability of the former president...
Yes, all of them. They're filling the air with ideological fluff.
It didn't. And what's really interesting to me is that this is almost unprecedented. You have to go back to Herbert Hoover in 1936, going out on the campaign trail, holding rallies on behalf of Alf Landon to find a former
Hoover
president who's been
again.
as politically engaged as this one has been. You know, President Clinton didn't go out on the campaign trail in the midterm of 2002 against President Bush. He actually made, I think, 1 or 2 speeches in 2004 at the convention, but that was it. And not only has it been an active campaign by President Obama, the rhetoric has been harsh, at points saying that that the entire Republican campaign is the efforts of the privileged and the powerful who feel that they're in danger of losing their control. And I mean, the language has been over the top, and apparently thus far tonight, not particularly effective.
I was going to say something about the Senate. Not only will President Trump have an increased majority in the Senate, but the Republicans in that increased majority are going to be much more on his team. When you look at who's gone from the Senate now, Jeff Flake is gone. Bob Corker is gone. Tragically, John McCain is gone. And in the case of McCain, he's replaced by Kyle. Corker is replaced by Marsha Blackburn. If Flake, if McSally wins in Arizona, will replace Flake, it's going to be, he's not going to have as many problems with freelancers.
It'll be a Trumpier Senate than
it'll be a much Trumpier Senate. It's going to be a much Trumpier Republican Party in Congress.
That's what I was trying to say before. I think that we are losing the moderates in the Republican Party, even as we talk about the Larry Hogans and the Charlie Bakers and the like. I don't really think they have a place in the National Party. The National Party is the party of Donald Trump. And he can go into the red states and he can make the case, and people will close their eyes to what absolutely antagonizes people in blue America in terms of the kind of bullying,
I hate to say this, but this is just boring.
I was very curious to hear from Senator Graham the admission that, you know, with the suburban white educated women, we have a problem. And it may be a matter of tone, the senator said. But remember, the senator's Republican. To Democrats, there's no, it's not just a flaw, it's not just a quirk to be overlooked. It seems as if that is central to who Donald Trump is and how he excites a base that people feel, my God, we are in now for 2 years as we approach 2020 of absolute fireworks.
Well, the president would like to weigh in on that, Juan, and he has just tweeted.
Choose one of these exciting ways of death.
President Donald Trump about this race. Maybe he was listening to you.
No,
He wanted to put it.
President Donald Trump. Dear President Donald Trump.
Because you now own the Republican Party. The Republican Party is fully owned and operated by one proprietor. His name is Donald J. Trump.
I need to point this out, but everybody who gets elected in the modern system we have becomes the owner of the party. In fact, that's how you get nominated. You get your delegates to fill the convention up. They nominate you. You control the party. That was true of all of his recent predecessors, and it's true of him. The only people who think it's notable to say that are those who think that somehow this president, who has adopted the conventional Republican agenda almost 100%, that the members of the party should be resisting him.
But
it's
I don't
nuts.
see how is tariffs anti-immigration? I don't see that as orthodox Republican positions.
Those are about two exceptions out of. Where is he on taxes? He's right with him. Where is he on regulation? Same thing. Where is he on military buildup? Same thing. Where is he on guns? Same thing. Where is he on school prayer? Same thing. Where is he on abortion? He's with him.
Where is he on deficits?
Well, Juan, I said almost 100%.
Well, I'm just saying,
that's a pretty important thing. Deficits are pretty fucking important. It is.
It's a natural reaction to these people.
Oh, we're for the economy, except for the deficits.
To sign their bills after all these years, when they've struggled to get them passed, that they should somehow be resisting. That's a Democrat's point of view. That doesn't make any sense in Republican land.
We've got to hit a break. Yep. Our friend Tom Bevan tweeted. So
that was interesting to actually.
Voted against Kavanaugh lost.
Lost.
Donnelly, Heitkamp, McCaskill, almost certainly Nelson, and the one who voted for Kavanaugh survived. Joe Manchin.
Good point.
All right, we've got some tight races, too close to call. Florida, Nevada, Arizona, Montana.
We're going to visit those.
We're likely coming for a commercial now. Yep, okay, commercial. So let's go C-SPAN.
I'd also like to thank my parents for all they did for me, especially my mother, who's a retired nurse. And we have 2 kids under 2. And so when you're running for governor in this massive state, always going in and out, it really has helped that she has been there helping us get through this really difficult process. So I love her very much, and I want to thank her. I also want to thank all the great volunteers that we had throughout the state of Florida. I mean, the bottom line is I'm a vessel. I'm putting out the ideas.
Wessel. Nuclear vessels.
You guys are the ones that really made this victory happen. You knocked on doors. You made calls. You waved signs. And you sent me your prayers all across the state of Florida. And truth be told, one of the reasons why I worked so hard during the campaign is I saw you working so hard, and I did not want to let you down.
Well,
I also want to thank our campaign staff who worked very, very hard throughout this process, starting with our campaign chairman, Susie Wiles, who's really the best in the business. And she worked, and everyone worked so hard and were instrumental. And I want to thank our...
And I think I'm gonna end the stream here. This is just boring. And I can also see by the viewers, it's boring. There's nothing really that I'm adding to it. There's not much to say other than making little comments, little snipes about some of the ways that they're talking about things. MSNBC is obviously very, very, very biased. CNN is biased. It'd be nice if either of them would actually admit to their bias, and it would be a lot better. But they're not going to do that. So... I don't know really what to say about this. We can see how the results were. It's not too bad. What I was worried about was a red tsunami. That's what I was concerned about. I was scared, and I'm okay with these results. They're not great, but I'm okay with these. And not all the results are fully in either. So. But enough are in that we can just get a general idea. So Thanks for watching. Sorry it took 3 times to get something that was even usable. At this point, this one is fully usable. It's because the other, it's trying to get this camera at 60 and the other at 60. I guess it was struggling, and the next time I do this, there's some settings I'll change some more. So, anyway, thanks again for watching.